please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Woodman,
Here.
Alderman Detweiler,
Here.
Alderman Gettemeyer, Alderman Johnson,
Here.
Alderman Nay,
Here.
Alderman Waters,
Here.
Alderman Wilson.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. All right, so before we move on this evening to the regularly scheduled agenda, I want to take a moment to recognize somebody here in the audience who participated in this weekend's first annual Kids Fishing Day at Bearhaven Lake. So for those in the audience that don't know, we had our first event where we had a pretty successful event, I may say. We had quite a few folks out there from all over the place, some from Darden Prairie, some from out of town. They came to Darden Prairie, and it was sponsored by Bullseye Tackle, as well as just a lot of hard work from the staff that made this happen. One of the things that we did is the board and myself all chipped money in, and we had a sponsor that came forward, St. Louis Catfishing. It's a company, it's a fishing captain that runs a fishing outfit that does catfishing trips right below the arch on the Mississippi, and they pull out some giant catfish. It's a heck of a good time. So we did a drawing of all the Darden Prairie residents that participated in the event, and I'm happy to say that the Cathcart family, Carson Cathcart, put his name in for the family, and they won the fishing trip sponsored by the board and the mayor. So we'll give them a big round of applause, and I'll come down there to you. And I'm going to go present it, and then if the board wants to come down after that to do a group picture, we can do that.
Good.
Did you have them for dinner?
But since the board is sponsored, I'd like to invite the board members to come down if you want.
All right.
I'll chip into this. I figured it'd be a nice way to.
There you go. Oh, I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you.
You're welcome. I'm very sorry.
Gotcha. I mean,
Thank you.
That's not for me.
Way down.
Yeah, I'll sit here. Act like I belong. Like a. The ordinance got awful. And I didn't know packet that Cinema had.
Yeah.
I knew that somebody did something.
And I don't understand why they.
Yeah.
Is it Friday?
Thanks.
That's on me.
All right.
Totally on me.
Back to the regularly scheduled agenda. Debbie, Brandy, are we ready with the information? Can I get a copy as well?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, first item up is RBA Delmar Gardens request for discharge fireworks on Sunday, June 28th, 2026 by myself, Mayor Whitteman. We discussed in the last meeting why that was brought up, had some discussion around it, and it's been put forward today. So it's still on the RBA for additional discussion since we had some aldermen that were not here in the last meeting. So who would like to start first?
Yes, when I got back home, I watched the work session where the RBA was put forth by Mayor Whitteman and was discussed, and changes were requested by Alderman Johnson, Nay, and Waters. Bill 2631 is before us tonight with these changes. But before we move to discuss or make these changes, I would like to say that I do not see the need to add Sunday provision to this ordinance and change it. The reason that I say that is because Delmar Gardens is claiming that they cannot hold this event on Saturday due to the fireworks and their Jewish Sabbath being that day. Well, Shabbat, which starts the Jewish Sabbath, starts on Friday evening at sundown. And the weekend in question is Friday, June 26th. And that Shabbat begins at 8:11 p.m. and continues until Saturday evening, June 27th, which is when we would like to have it scheduled. And it ends at 9:17 p.m. That is 17 or 18 minutes after they normally would have started the fireworks. So why are we going to the expense and to taking the time to change this for those few minutes? It doesn't make any sense to me, because the other activities during the day is a gathering with friends and family. And I believe that everything that I have read, that is allowed. Secondly, we always seem to spend time and money creating ordinances for the safety and good of our residents, only to get a complaint from a business in and now out of our city, and we forget why we've created the ordinance in the first place. And then we bow down and change the ordinance to accommodate their complaint. This is the second time in the last couple months that we have done this, and I find that we are not abiding by the rule of what we are here to do. When every time somebody complains, we decide we need to change an ordinance. And this time, the company is not prohibited by us. They just need to adjust the time of their fireworks. Our fireworks ordinance is in line with every neighboring city that we have. We are not more restrictive in the dates or days, and there is no need to add a Sunday. And if the aldermen on this board seem to feel that they are compelled to bow down to this, we have allowed 6 days in our ordinance for permits. There is no need, if you see the need to add a Sunday, to add 2 more permits. We only had 2 permits last year. And if you add this one to a Sunday, that's still 2 permits. We do not need to make it 8 permits. So I leave it up to you how you want to handle this, because I know I'm in the minority on this. But I'm tired of seeing this board create ordinances to turn around and recreate them just because somebody complains. And this complaint is not valid.
I'd just like to chime in on I don't believe we're bowing down to this company. I believe, and I explained in the last meeting, that this is a public service that they're providing for a lot of our residents, as many of our residents, their families, have attended our actually go to the facilities that is there, that is very nice facilities. It also gives you the opportunity for them doing it on the weekend before, to be able to enjoy it with your families that I have in the past. And then even your 4th of July weekend for your immediate family to go and enjoy the 4th of July, because it is a burdensome for you to be able to take an elderly person or a person such as in a handicap chair or something like that to an event. So this is something that provides to our residents also. I know it's not in our city, but I know many of our residents benefit from it. And I think being a good community service and being a good neighbor to our neighbors, we should go ahead and allow this. As you brought up with the number of permits, we don't get that many permits. I don't have a problem with limiting the number of permits, but if we're not getting that many to begin with, I mean, I don't know why we have to even limit that. But I am in favor of adopting this.
Well, there's nothing that I said that would change the fact that they can have it on that weekend. So we're not changing when they have it, except making them have it on the day that's allowed in our ordinance and waiting until after their Sabbath is over to do the fireworks.
And if you remember in the past, they've always had it on their Sundays. And it was last year, it was on Sunday also.
That's because it got passed without coming before the board.
Well, I'm just saying that it's, you know, this is their tradition of having it every year, and they do it on the Sunday evenings, for our families. So,
But the thing is, we did the ordinance eliminating Sunday for families, the families that all live around and have to work on Monday. I don't think we're acting like it's uber restrictive, but apparently it's right in line with the surrounding communities in St. Charles County. We look weak when we keep flip-flopping on these issues. We're inconsistent. We spend a significant amount of time drafting this ordinance for fireworks, only to not even a year later second guess ourselves because of a request from a corporate entity who wants to do the, and I've also heard it's not necessarily the family gathering that people make it out to be, because a lot of the residents are elderly and aren't necessarily staying up late to see the fireworks. They're in bed, their families are out there watching the fireworks. So, and we can't let emotions rule this. We have to be reflective and independent and think what's best for the residents.
and if it was just some corporation, I would say that, but I do believe I have to go back to, it is a service to our community and our surrounding families. And as far as being up late, those are over as soon, I mean, they don't stay shooting off fireworks for a long time. It's a short burst of fireworks, it's done, and you're right, it's over quickly, so it's not keeping anybody up on a Sunday night to where they're shooting it at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
I do have a question for the board. Seeing this as a problem, I'm thinking about the future. If we just make believe we okay this one time, what's going to happen in years in the future? Do we need to look out for things like this? Do we need to change any ordinance for this?
And we
Well-
talked about that.
And I probably missed it. So
And that's where we bring up, what benefit is it to us to allow something like that? And that's where I believe the majority of the board went with being a community service, and a benefit to our residents. That's where we went and looked to extend this. If it's just somebody that wants to come and blow up fireworks in their backyards, we're gonna deny it. You know, because they are gonna blow it off all night long till the maximum time period or whatever. But looking at it on a case by case basis is how we present it, put this together.
I do recall when I was an alderman on the board at
Did
the time.
that even
but-
answer his question?
well, it's fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Mayor. Go ahead, Mayor.
I have the floor.
It's fine.
So I do recall when I was on the board, we discussed why this was why were we changing things? And these changes were brought forward for exactly the reason that was just described. All through the week before the 4th of July, up until 11, 12 o'clock at night, there were fireworks being shot all through weeknights, and it was all over the city, and it was very pervasive. And that's what this sought to, at least I understood, that's what when we put that ordinance forward and we approved it, that it sought to eliminate. So, but we should have, I mean, I thought we gave ourselves latitude with the permits to approve exceptional things as a board. And that's what we did, is we gave ourselves a latitude with this. So I understood that when we initially approved it, the board always had that authority. And I just, kind of reading it now, it seems like it may have been a little bit more restrictive, but in the conversations I remember, that's what those permits were supposed to be for. And we decided to limit them so it wasn't too many, and to give the board discretion on a case-by-case basis, as what was just discussed. So I think that this is in alignment with what I remember originally, which is the board having discretion each year to sort of go through and approve those permits. But this just gives us a little bit more latitude with that here. So am I wrong in understanding and seeing that?
Yes, that's exactly what we put it together for. So we can judge it on a case by case basis when we go through on these things.
I remember very clearly, I was deeply involved in the discussions, that that's what this is for. And I think this helps, perfect, any legislation goes through over time, and sometimes it gets perfected. I don't see it as going back and trying to change it. I see that this is perfecting it to really advance the original intent that we had when we first passed this ordinance, which I think was very well needed. I think it was needed. It was, and this gives our law enforcement a little bit more, strength, and, to go in and say, hey, that these are the timeframes that it's allowed, and it looks out for those that have to work through the week. But this is exactly what we intended to give these permits based on exception that the board review each year. So I think that this sort of continues to allow that to be, it's in the same vein, in my opinion. It's just perfecting it from my perspective. But that's my opinion on it. And I'll defer back to the board for further discussion.
Well, like I said, I know that we're in the minority here. So if you're going to make this change to item number C, Sunday permits, I don't want 2 extra permits added. Those permits need to stay within the number of 6.
Can I ask you a question? Could we make the permit only for special
Community events.
special community events? Would that make it better? I'm asking.
John,
So it won't go out to the world as that?
I
Whatever,
think
Brad.
Brad, you got to answer.
Okay,
on that,
sorry,
'cause I
sorry.
believe John said you can't specify
Yeah, no.
exactly that, and we need to put 2 in there. So we would take a consideration of somebody else. Okay, so if you only have 1, then you're. only
Josh,
gonna
can you say it
put
again?
1
I'm so sorry. Can you say that over again? Oh, sorry.
We can't specify what they are for,
Mhm.
okay? And you gotta put 2 in there, so you're not discriminating against anyone else. You have to take it on a case by case basis.
Okay.
So that way somebody else could apply for it. You can reject it, but then you at least give them the opportunity to apply for it. So if it is another community service, then we could approve it or whatever.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
I don't, and to Carla's answer, I don't have a problem. How many permits do we have under B?
2.
No, under, B, we got 6.
6. Yep.
So, I mean, if you wanted to reduce there, I don't have a problem with that, but how
So
many
reduce to 4.
permits did we get this year for fireworks so far? Displays? For a display?
For 2026?
Yes.
1 so far.
1 so far, so if, you wanna curve it, keep it at 6, I don't have a problem going to 4 on the other one. Do you know in the past how many do we normally have? Roughly?
There was 2 last year.
2 last year, so we weren't even at the 50% mark. So I don't see where we're gonna be getting a lot more requests for permits. I don't know, unless Matt wants to read it twice or something. Side joke.
So going forward, we're talking about having 6 total. And when Ryan's question was, how is this going to be handled in the future? That's the answer. Just wanted to-
Special.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Yeah, I think it's important to go back to the legal on this and just discuss what we can and can't do, because I think I'm with you on this. I'm trying to understand a little bit. Can you please articulate a little bit more of what we can and can't do related to special permits related to this?
You don't want to make distinctions in the face of the law itself.
Yes, sir.
And it's because it creates an issue of potential for unequal treatment or some other issue along those lines.
Okay.
So what I think we're looking at here is it's Sunday permits, right?
Yes.
So 2 Sunday permits and then drop 6 to 4 to keep the total number of permits.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is that acceptable to the board? Is that how we want to?
I'm good with it.
Yes, sir.
We want to, so during the meeting, we would want to move to change the language to reduce the number of general permits from 6 to 4 to offset the number of overall permits that would be issued. Okay.
Do we need to read it twice is my question. Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to be clear. Just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
It's at the board's discretion if it needs to be read twice.
Okay. But we have another
So
meeting.
it's
So
not-
I just want to make sure
At the board's discretion, once we read twice.
we have time then.
As we can. And the reason it would need to be read twice, like anything else, if there's any urgent need that the board would see that to move it forward with it quickly. It's not administrative, that's the procedure, so the board can make that discretion at large.
Thank you.
All right, so any further discussion on how this would move forward? So let's just show of hands who is in agreement with the reduction of the general
Understand.
permits from 6 to 4 and the Sunday permits introduced with 2, so to balance it out. Show of hands, who's in favor?
Yes.
I have to be.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
Grudgingly.
Show of hands, who's not in favor of that? Okay, so the majority is in favor of that change in the language, which will be taking effect in the regular meeting. All right,
Can I ask Mr. Nay, why, will you want to leave it at 6 and 2 or?
No, I plan on talking during our regular meeting.
Can you
Okay.
ask them to talk into their mic?
yeah, can you please speak in your microphone?
I will speak at the regular session
Okay.
and voice my concerns, my objectives.
Okay. Is your right? All right, any further discussion on this? All right, so it sounds like we're going to move forward with the direction that we've gotten from the majority of the board at this point with the reduction of general permits issued to 4. That's all we have on the agenda. We're 23 minutes in. So let's move on to the regular Board of Aldermen agenda for any items to discuss. We have 1 item in new business. And then we have 3 items in old business and the consent agenda, of course. Any questions or concerns, discussion points related to the regular agenda for this evening?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Being said, we will move on to staff communications. City attorneys,
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
city engineer,
I have nothing, Mayor.
city administrator.
Greetings and good evening. I don't have a lot for you tonight. Just want to say happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Obviously, I'll continue to touch base with all of you on the board. I've met with a little over half of you at this point. We'll get through the rest of you by the end of the week, and we can certainly have some discussion about what you would like to see in the staff communications. But for now, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Kyle. Okay, Alderman.
Yeah, I'd like to,
Sorry,
Go
oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
thought I didn't see
I'll
you.
go after you.
You sure?
Yep.
go ahead, Mark.
We had talked before about having a look at where we are with what we budgeted and where our actual balances are. And meetings before, and I thought that was gonna be provided to us, and we never have received that. So basically, we have budget items, And then we wanted to know where we stand throughout the year, not every meeting, but at least on a quarterly basis. So we know we're staying within our budget means.
Not a problem. We can get you a budget versus actual. I mean, we're reviewing it right now. We can talk about it tomorrow in our meeting as well and make sure we're getting that out to the board on a quarterly basis at a minimum.
Thank you.
Okay, Blake?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to speak today a little bit about, not hitting that mic, about where we are as a nation. 250 years ago, the United States was not a nation at all. And this is a very interesting time. 250 years ago, the Second Continental Congress was in session. One of the things that they did is on June 11th of that year of 1776, they instructed and gave direction to Thomas Jefferson to begin writing a document that they would send to the King of England. And in that document, he was to write about the grievances that these colonists had against the king. And on the 29th of June, he returned with that document and gave copies to all the delegates. All the 13 colonies were represented there. And they reviewed this as much as they could. Revisions were made. And then on the 4th of July, on the 3rd of July, that document was presented to the entire Continental Convention, the Constitutional Convention. They recommended that it pass and they voted on it. The next day was July 4th of 1776. They had it written out in Thomas Jefferson's hand. That's what's in Washington, D.C., if any of you have seen it. The signers of that document, they knew that as they put their signatures to it, they were also pledging their life, because what they were doing at the time was called treason. They were in open rebellion of the monarchy in England. And they put their hand to it and did sign it. The one that you probably all know is John Hancock. He said, in fact, that he wanted to make sure that his name was big enough for the king to see it without any spectacle. So he did that. In the years that have followed, we have had a chance to understand the documents that we have. It is consistently understood that the most important written document in the history of the world is the Declaration of Independence. And I'll show you why. The first paragraph is the preamble, as you probably heard. The second paragraph starts with these words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We've all heard those words many times, right? What's an unalienable right? It is the right that cannot be taken from us. No one can take that from us because it's given to us, according to this, by God. You can see that God was in the minds of each and every one of those who participated in that Constitutional Convention. It was an integral part of our lives then. It should be now. So what of that document then? Let's take another look at it. On the night of July 4th of 1776, what was going on? Nothing was going on. The men who had signed the document went home to be with their families. For they knew that what they had done was risking them, their families, their fortunes, everything they had. They had no idea what would happen. They had no idea where this action would take them. A year later, let me just read some of the things. So a year later is July 4th of 1777. Let me read a few of the things that took place. While it's only been a federal holiday since 1938, the 4th of July has been celebrated by Americans stretching back to the momentous day of July 4th, 1776. In 1777, yes, fireworks were involved. Today, the 4th of July conjures up visions of parades, cookouts, waving flags, and brightly colored fireworks. Oh yes, the fireworks. But how do our modern celebrations compare to those of the Independence Day? On June 4th was King George III's birthday. The people celebrated with bonfires and with cannons and with lanterns being lit in their homes all through the night. Once the Declaration of Independence was signed and put out, those celebrations on the 4th stopped. And all of those things were moved to July 4th. And on July 4th of 1776, the celebrations were throughout the land, and they were momentous. The one that's most interesting is the bonfires were lit all over the land. Farmers out in the middle of nowhere lit the bonfires because they could. It was their property. They didn't hurt anybody. There was no concern of safety. In Philadelphia, where this action all took place, fireworks were imported specifically for that night. A ship arrived 3 weeks earlier from China, and the fathers of Philadelphia had bought those fireworks to celebrate what they considered the most momentous thing of their life. Well, I don't think those things have changed. This is the most momentous thing of our lives. We are 250 years since that day. These things are important. What took place with the Declaration was the beginning of the paperwork, really. Our Revolutionary War started years before 1776, when King George sent troops to Boston to occupy the city. He sent 2,000 troops there. How many residents lived in Boston at the time? About 2,000. So, did he mean to make an impression? He surely did. Things happened later in 1775 or 74. Concord, Lexington. Minutemen were killed by the British Army. We make a big deal about that now. How many were killed? Approximately 52. Later in 1775, Bunker Hill, you all remember that. That was a bombardment. That was an attempt to lay siege to the city of Boston, if you recall. And that was, we lost Bunker Hill and lost our advantage. But later George Washington was selected to lead our Continental Army, and he redid the siege of Boston, which took it down in a few days. Literally. Boston was an ill-conceived location. It should not have ever been used by the British. But that's the point. The war took approximately 6 years. Didn't end until 1781 in Yorktown, Virginia. General Cornwallis had been sent to the United States. He went into Savannah, Georgia, a very British-friendly area. And he was going to move up through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and on to New York, and if he had to, on to Massachusetts. But what happened? He was defeated in Yorktown by General George Washington when they maneuvered around and outflanked them, and they lost. And that was the end of the war, 1871. So when was our government started? wasn't started till much later. During the war between 1776 and 1781, the Articles of Confederacy was what ruled the nation, as it were. In the beginning years, we had recognition from several other nations, France, Canada, of all the people, Thailand, Australia. Two of them were British colonies, Canada and Australia. So what was on their minds? They were looking to do the same thing. Now we can see that neither one had the guts to do it, but that's beside the point. So what is the final thing? So in 1787, the Constitution was written. Wasn't ratified till 1789. In 1789, George Washington was appointed our first president. He was elected by Congress, by our electoral college. It wasn't conceivable to do an election throughout the people, so it was elected through the electoral college. It was unanimous. He served till 1798, and he retired. That's the history of our land. The Constitution ratified in 89. It was its first amendments because it wasn't perfect. Those who are our founders, the founding fathers, as we will hear over the next month, were not perfect. They made mistakes. They did things contrary. These very words that I read just earlier. All men are created equal. Is it true? Did they believe that? Yes, they did. At that time, were all men treated equal? No. That was not the case and wouldn't be for another almost 100 years. And then we could change that phrase and say, all men and women are created equal. Is that true then? Yes, it was true. But were they treated the same? No, they weren't. In regard to the law and in regard to our nation, that didn't happen till 1929 when women got the vote. That's the first we had equality in all those things. But the First Amendment to the Constitution took place in 1791. And it was a whole raft of amendments, all at once. The first one had to do with religious freedom, was the most important one. Secondly was freedom of speech. Third, freedom of the press. All of those things were there. And we're doing them right now. I have this podium now to express my opinions, which is freedom of speech. And I'm proud to do that. But all of these things, every single one of them, comes back to that Declaration. I read just today that the Declaration of Independence is listed among the most influential of all documents and has been instrumental in every other nation's conceiving to find freedom for their people. They listed 28,000 references to it in books around the world. So on the night of July 4th of 1777, John Adams, who was one of those at that Continental Convention, he made the statement that tonight we shoot off fireworks. And this should be a tradition throughout this land until God himself comes again, is what he said. So here we are today talking about restricting our celebration of the freedoms that we have gained. The hypocrisy is beyond belief to me. I do not understand that. If we shoot off fireworks then, we should surely be able to shoot off fireworks today. And men and women of this community should have the right, and we say they do because it's that right of the pursuit of happiness, God-given. No one can trample upon it. So, as we discuss this ordinance when it comes up in our section, I will talk again about that. But I wanted to remind each of you what this means. The Declaration of Independence was a milestone. It is for everyone. If you mention the word Declaration of Independence across the world, they know what you're talking about. But the Declaration was also a declaration of war. It meant that those people were willing to sacrifice everything they had, and many did. And we need to honor that sacrifice in all that they did and all that they stand for. And I leave you that. Say good night.
Yeah.
Alderman Nay, thank you for your words of wisdom and insight. I learned a few things there. I'm a passionate learner of history myself, but I certainly learned a lot. So before I say anything additionally, I'll ask the other aldermen if they have anything else to say. Yeah, we got time. We got 21 minutes.
Gotta make it better. This is a time. And also just making sure. I think just communicate. Myself to make. Thank you for the board.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. Anybody else? Okay, well, I just to kind of add, not too much more because there was a lot that was said, and I think it's all good. And the Constitutional Congress, or the when the Constitution, when John Hancock put his signature on the Declaration of Independence, which I have a copy hanging in my office if anybody ever wants to go see it. I had some Boy Scouts come in the other day, and one of the Scoutmasters, who is also a scholar and learner of history, asked the Boy Scouts, why is John Hancock's signature the first one on there, and why is it so big? And I think you touched on it there, but it's the why is he the first one? And that to me was something I couldn't answer the question. And I'm curious, I just want to poll the room and the board and start with the board. Does anybody know? Blake probably does. Why it's the first one? Anybody in the room? Well, I learned through this Scoutmaster, and I have to trust what he said was true, is that because there was great consternation about signing it, because as you said, whoever signs it is signing, potentially putting their life at risk, because these men not only were signing it, they were going to war, and they knew it, and they put their name on that line, and then that signed it and said, I'm going to war. And that's exactly what happened. They all went to war after that. They were all in a wartime environment because they signed that document. But John Hancock was the one that had the courage to be the first signature. And I think that's exactly what he said. He said, all right, fine, I'll put mine first. And I want to be big enough so the King George can see it. And his courage led the others to follow. So anyway, just an additional, as we get ready to celebrate 250, it's a pretty special time in our country's history. And I appreciate the walk down the history of our country. Alderman, thank you so much. All right. Moving forward to the other event we just had, and Alderman Wilson just did a great job pointing it out. I am super happy with the way this turned out. A few of you guys who were here earlier, we awarded, one of the young Garden Prairie families who showed up with some kids. The board collectively and myself chipped in some money, and as well as with Captain Jason from St. Louis STL Catfishing, who does these really awesome catfishing trips underneath of the St. Louis Arch, where you can pull some just monster catfish out. He gave a steep discount, and then the board chipped in to cover the rest of it to give one lucky resident family the opportunity to go down there and fish. So that was cool. So we just did that. But the event itself was just great. We had really great participation. The staff did a tremendous job of kids went home with tackle boxes and fishing poles. That of which were either bought by the city, and the tackle boxes were donated by Bullseye Tackle, just down the road here. And, you know, the staff, you know, went out and publicized it. I mean, it was a group effort from Public Works preparing the lake and getting it ready to be a positive experience for the kids that came out, advertisement, communication, all the above. So I just can't say thanks enough to the staff. This was a, you know, a good team effort, and it went off extremely well. And I couldn't be, you know, more proud of the team. And Kyle came in the last week right before this happened and really helped kind of tighten everything up. So I want to thank him for his leadership in that, and also welcome him to the city. Kyle, we're certainly excited to have you on board. So for any of those in the audience who don't know, I think the board's all got a chance for the most part to see him and know a little bit about his background. Kyle has coming from Ashland now. He just moved here to Dardenne Prairie. He's living in the city of Dardenne Prairie. And he's moved here, him and his wife and their family have moved here to be a little bit closer to their family who live here in the area. So we're excited to have him come to the area. We thank him for joining us in our city, and we look forward to his leadership as we move forward into 251 years of the United States. So anyway, all right, that's all I have. I'll save any additional remarks for the next meeting. So with that, can I entertain a motion to adjourn? Moved by Laura, second by Ryan. All in favor? Any opposed? None heard. This meeting's adjourned.